Uncle Payton's return. Next morning, Charlie thought he was the last one down to breakfast, but just as he was hurrying past the portraits, he heard someone shuffling behind him. He looked round to see Emma, pale-faced and sleepy-eyed. While Charlie waited for her to catch up, another figure appeared. It was Olivia. Who else would wear bright yellow shoes with black socks? It was amazing the weird clothes that drama children managed to get away with. Olivia was rolling on in a strange, lopsided way. "I've bust the heel," she explained, holding up a foot and a yellow shoe. "They're Mom's. I hope she won't get mad at me." Emma regarded the shoe and yawned. "How did you get on last night?" Charlie asked. Emma frowned. "Couldn't find Ollie's window. They all look the same, and I dropped the note." "What note?" said Olivia. "You never said anything about a note." "I was carrying one to leave for Ollie, but all the attic windows were shut." "Carrying in your..." was about to say but couldn't quite manage it. "Mouth," said Emma, giving him a funny look. Charlie said quietly, "Did you find the window to the sculpture room?" Emma yawned again. "Eventually, thanks." It was Tancred. They had reached the dining hall, and here they had to part, each going to their own table. Charlie noticed that Emma had to sit beside Belle. He was worried for his friend. Suppose someone had found the note she'd written. If the Blores knew she was trying to rescue Ollie, there was no knowing what they might do. "I'm glad she can fly," he thought to himself. Beside him, Fidelio polished off his last speck of porridge and said, "I'm sure there are things going on that I ought to know about, Charlie. Music's taking over my life a bit, but I still want to know what's happening to you lot. Come to the Pets Cafe on Sunday," said Charlie. "We'll all be there. Maybe even Lysander and Tancred." He noticed Billy staring at him from the other side of the table. "And Billy," he added. "Billy?" Fidelio lowered his voice. "Is that wise?" Charlie shrugged. "I think he's changing his spots, if you know what I mean." Said Fidelio. During the first break, while the others were rehearsing for the play, Charlie helped Emma search for the note she dropped. He was just peering into the shrubbery beside the garden door when Belle and Dorcas walked up to him. Belle said, "I didn't know you were interested in horticulture, Charlie." "What?" said Charlie. Never mind. What are you looking for?" "Nothing." Charlie shoved his hand in his pockets and walked away from them. He looked for Tancred and Lysander, but they were nowhere to be seen. Perhaps Lysander was working on his carving. Billy was missing too, but he had a rat to feed and comfort. A few minutes before the end of break, Charlie met Emma. She hadn't found the note either. "I think it must have blown into the courtyard," she said. This was bad news. It was impossible for any of the children to go in there once the main doors were shut on Monday morning. "What did the note say?" asked Charlie. Emma bit her lip. "Don't give up hope, Ollie. We haven't forgotten you. E." "E?" "Just E," said Charlie. "That's not so bad." "E is for Emma," Emma said gloomily. "They'll know." "We'll just have to hope that they don't find it," said Charlie. His next lesson was history, and as usual, he found it very hard to concentrate. Luckily, Mr. Pope didn't ask him any questions. He seemed to have given up on Charlie, which was just as well, as Charlie was wrestling with several other problems at once, and none of them had anything to do with Napoleon. For one thing, who were they? The Blores, obviously, and Belle, of course, but Whedon, the gardener, was a nasty piece of work, and Matron, Charlie's great aunt Lucretia, was definitely an enemy. What about the rest of the staff? It was very difficult to guess. If only he had Uncle Payton to talk to, but there was no word from him still. Before Charlie knew it, the lesson was over, and Mr. Pope was shouting, Another lesson has passed you by, Charlie Bone. There'll be a test on Napoleon's campaigns first thing on Monday morning. If you don't get more than a 70%, you'll have detention. Charlie's jaw dropped. This meant a whole weekend wasted on learning dates. He gathered up his books and marched grimly out of the history lesson. Other children were faced with the same problem. News of tests abounded. The staff had apparently caught test fever. There were very happy faces at supper that night. There were few happy faces at supper that night. I just completely glanced over that. My bad. I don't think I'll be able to make it to the Pets Cafe this Sunday, said Gabriel, staring glumly into his soup. Nor me, said Charlie. Billy leaned across the table. I can still come home with you, can't I? He begged. Charlie didn't have the heart to say no. Of course you can. You can test me on my dates. Billy beamed. You're on. On Friday, Charlie heard about Lysander's progress on the carving. He and Emma were caught up in the usual rush to the dormitories to collect their bags. In spite of the looming tests, a babble of excitement had broken out. No one could remain despondent when there were 2 days and 3 nights of freedom to look forward to. Steps were climbed 2 at a time, and dark passages rang with hurrying footsteps and happy laughter. I saw the carving last night, Emma whispered to Charlie. It's fantastic, like a real boy. Lysander's just begun to paint it. A few more days and it'll be ready. How's he kept it a secret? Asked Charlie. He puts a sheet over it in the daytime. Mr. Mason never pays any attention to it. He's too busy doing his own sculpting. Belle's an art, said Charlie anxiously. I don't need reminding, but as far as I know, she hasn't seen the carving. They parted at the bottom of another staircase, and Charlie went to find Billy. It was true that Belle hadn't seen Lysander's carving, but she'd been aware of it. She had merely been biding her time. As soon as the other children had climbed aboard the school buses, Belle went into the sculpture room. Mr. Mason was tapping away at a chunk of stone by the window. He didn't even see Belle. She walked over to the white sheet that covered something exactly her size. Belle pulled off the sheet. A boy stood before her. Not exactly a boy, but something so very like a boy. It was hard to believe he wasn't real. The boy had brown hair and bright blue eyes. His mouth was quite small, and his nose was thin and pokey, an inquisitive nose. He was wearing a blue cape, but as far as Belle could see, the other clothes were the clothes under the cape were as yet unpainted. The shoes and trousers were the color of light wood. So, murmured Belle, that's their game. Charlie and Billy got off the blue bus at the top of Filbert Street. Rembrandt had fallen asleep under Billy's sweater, but he was obviously having bad dreams. He kept twitching and squeaking in his sleep. Billy reckoned that he had been badly freaked by Mr. Boldova's rejection. You'll have to make up for it then, said Charlie. You're his best friend now. Billy looked surprised and pleased. I suppose I am. I'm afraid Mum doesn't know you're coming, Charlie warned him. She's out all day on Saturday, and she doesn't get home till after 4. I don't mind, said Billy happily. She'll leave us plenty of food. Good. Can I give some to Rembrandt? Of course. Don't let my grandma see him. She can't abide animals. She'll probably kill him. Oh, said Billy nervously. About 20 paces from home, Charlie became aware of a car parked in the road outside number 9. Its color might have been described as black, but then again, it wasn't quite black. It could have been midnight blue, but it was so streaked with mud and ash. And was it rust? Or had the vehicle been engulfed in flames? The bumper was bent, the windscreen shattered. That looks like a car from hell, said Billy. Or a car that's been through hell, said Charlie. It belongs to my Uncle Paton. The boys tore down Filbert Street. When they reached number 9, Charlie bounded up the steps and let himself in. Billy followed cautiously. "There's no one here," Charlie shouted from the kitchen. Billy watched Charlie cross the hall and began to mount the stairs. "Shall I stay here?" he asked shyly. "No, it's okay. Come on up." Charlie didn't want to go into his uncle's room alone. The "Do Not Disturb" sign lay on the floor, and the hook on the door was bent almost flat, as though someone had grasped it for support. The signs were so ominous. Charlie didn't know what to do. Should he knock or walk in unannounced? "I knock," Billy advised. Charlie knocked. Once. Twice. 3 times. No sound came from within the room. Charlie held his breath, opened the door, and walked in. Billy took just one step inside and then waited, his hand over the rat. The first thing Charlie saw was the wand lying on his uncle's desk. The once slim white cane was almost unrecognizable, but Charlie knew it from its size and the dented silver tip. The rest was a charred and blackened stick. "What happened?" he murmured. Slowly he turned his gaze towards the bed, and there was his uncle, a figure all in black lying stretched out on top of the covers, so tall that his feet in ash-covered shoes hung over the end. Payne's face beneath the streaks of soot was deathly white. But worst of all, to Charlie, was his uncle's hair. A once luxurious black had been turned ash gray. "Is he dead?" Billy whispered. "No," said Charlie fiercely, but to tell the truth, he wasn't sure. He touched his uncle's shoulder. There was no response. "Uncle Paton," he said softly, and then more urgently, "Please, Uncle Paton, wake up if you can."